Hi, it's Steph, and it is a beautiful morning here in New England. The air is crisp and the birds are singing, and it's just perfect to be out here and taking care of a few early spring things. A few days ago, George and I had worked on putting up some new birdhouses, and I noticed that my hellebore were all in bloom. Most of them. There's only one that's still waiting and it budded up, but I digress. The point is that I really want these blooms to shine, so I'm going to go through and I'm going to rake out all the leaves. I'm going to go ahead and clip back the old foliage. We'll give them some fertilizer. I also have to fertilize my daffodils because the foliage is now 2 to 3 inches above the soil, so it's a perfect time to go in and give them some food so that they'll bloom beautifully for us this season. We will also go shopping for some new hellebore because now that I see these in bloom, I want to add more because they're gorgeous. And I'll give you an update on some Mandevilla that I'm overwintering. So let's go ahead and hang out and have a day in the garden. And here's the before shot. We're going to rake out all of these leaves. There's some twigs and sticks to be picked up, and then we'll work on cutting back all of the foliage. And we'll see what it looks like when it's done. Cutting back hellebore foliage is really simple. You basically just look for all of the leaves that look like this. These are the older leaves that are tattered, and you're just going to follow the stem all the way down and you'll cut it. There'll be some newer leaves that are going to emerge after the plant is done blooming, so you basically just want to clean up all of this old foliage that has winter burn on it to clean up the plant and let the blooms be the thing that you see atop the plant, because all of the new foliage will come out the bottom. And here is the after. It looks so much better. There were a lot of leaves to clean up, both from the trees and on the hellebores. I actually filled up 3 of my kangaroo bags, so it was quite a job this morning. But all that's left to do now is fertilize, and you can see that the hellebore are looking so much prettier now. You can see all of these beautiful blooms, and even the bees are happy because they have been buzzing in and out of these hellebore blooms the whole time I've been over here working. All right, on to fertilizer. So I'm going to use the Espoma Organic Plant Tone, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to sprinkle some around the base of the plant, and I'm going to scratch it in. And we're supposed to get rain this weekend, so it will also water it in for me, and that way I have this chore checked off my list. Okay, I ran out of my plant tone, so I can't finish fertilizing my hellebore. But friends, if you are from New England and you have an Ocean State job lot nearby, that is a great place to go to get all of the tones fertilizers. There is one right next door to my Aldi where I go grocery shopping, and recently I popped in there because I was just looking to see what they had, and sure enough, they were fully stocked. They had a full wall of any type of Espoma tone fertilizer that you can think of, and they have these really large bags of plant tone. So when I was there, I picked up some bulb tone that I knew I was running low on and I would need to fertilize my daffodils. And I also picked up some biotone, which I use to plant anything new out in the garden so that I would have a fresh bag for the season. But I thought that I had extra plant tone in my shed. Turns out I didn't. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to pick up one of those really large bags of plant tone that will get me through the rest of the season. But they have lots of beautiful planters, some ceramic bird baths that were really pretty. They even have a lot of trellises and those rings with the grids on them that you use to put around your peonies to keep them growing nice and upright. Great price on those. I think they were like $5. So if you have an Ocean State job lot, great place for gardening supplies and the Espoma fertilizers. We are here in the front of my driveway walls, and this is where I have my earliest blooming daffodils. These are a combination of Ice Follies and Ice King. They're both like a creamy white with yellow, really pretty together. But a couple of days ago, I looked at these and they were only a couple of inches out of the ground, 2 to 3 inches. And all of a sudden, we've had 2 beautiful sunny and warm days and they've really shot up. Look at that. But they're a little further along than I would have liked them to be in order to fertilize them. But I'm still going to go ahead and fertilize them with some of this Espoma bulb tone and give them a little bit of a feed. Here's the creeping phlox. It still looks kind of dormant, but you can see that it's starting to put on all of its new growth. And right after the daffodils bloom, this really pretty light lavender phlox will bloom, and this looks really pretty in this area. And then the rest of the summer, it just looks like a ground cover, like a tuft of green grass. Almost looks like grass, actually. So not bad. And there is the armeria, or the sea thrift. That one has a little bit of the winter burn on it, so I can clean that up. And then these will all be blooming pretty soon. I have a pretty good spring display here. Kind of goes a little bit dormant in the summer. So this year I'm thinking that I'm going to interplant some kind of annual, but I haven't decided what. Last year I did plant some short stature Cosmos, the Sonata variety. I actually still have a tag here. The Cosmos Sonata White. But they looked a little scraggly, so I'm thinking something a little more low growing that kind of will form like a carpet. Well, it's garbage day here today, so it's going to get quite loud in a second. So I'm going to go ahead and do this fertilizing real quick. All right, the daffodils are fertilized, and here is an update on the Mandevilla that I am trying to overwinter. If you've been around the channel for a little while, you might recall that last fall, I went through the process of trying to overwinter this Mandevilla that I had grown last season. This Mandevilla did absolutely beautifully for me. I had some white ones planted in some tall planters, as well as in my window boxes back over by my shed in the backyard. And I also had a grouping of them on my front porch in the color pink. And they looked absolutely beautiful. These perform really well for me here in my zone 6. And they actually do better for me than petunias. They require a little bit less watering. I could usually go every other day watering my Mandevilla, and I never had to deadhead them. So for me, I found them to be a really low maintenance annual. And because I had bought so many, the price added up. So I figured, well, let me go ahead and try to overwinter them. So that is what I did. So we are currently in our mechanical room. This is where we have our hot water tank, the furnace, all that good stuff. But it is nice and warm in here. So that is why I placed the Mandevilla in this room. Because Mandevilla is a tropical plant, they like it nice and warm. It stays about 65 degrees in here. So it has really helped this Mandevilla come out of dormancy and start leafing out. Now, about a month ago is when I moved these into this room. They were dormant, so I kept them in the basement, which stays about 55 degrees, and they dropped all of their leaves. So you can even see here, there's still a little bit of the crispy leaves that are going to fall. So it got really messy. Here's an update on the Mandevilla that I'm overwintering. You can see that it makes quite a mess because as the leaves dry, they all drop on the floor. I did go ahead and clean up the foliage on the cordyline that is in the center here, as well as on the Mandevilla. And now I'm just trimming it back to wherever there are signs of life. There is already a bunch of new foliage emerging. I'm going to show you. So this one was the one that was closest to the door. So probably got the most cold when we opened the basement door. And it looks a little bit toasty. But then all the other ones still have a pretty good amount of green growth on them. You can see here, these two have some good green growth. But as I was cleaning it up, I noticed that there was a couple that did die back all the way. So here I had 3 of them planted, and this one was completely dead. So I went ahead and I dug it out. And this one here, you can see, has a bunch of new growth and is still alive. All 3 survived on this one. I cleaned all the dead foliage back, and you can see they all have some new green growth. And this one here, I also lost one. So 2 out of the 3 survived and still has some green foliage. The cordyline, I also went through and I cleaned up all the lower leaves that were pretty crispy. But all in all, other than the fact that it's making a huge mess in my basement with all of the dropped foliage, most of it is still alive, both the Mandevilla and the cordyline. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move these to a warmer spot in my basement. I'm going to move them to our mechanical room, which is where our boiler is, and it stays quite a bit warmer than here in this area of the basement. And I'm also going to rig up a shop light to give them some light. And I'm going to start fertilizing them now weekly. It is now the last week of February. I'm happy to report that most of them made it. I lost 2 plants, one in that pot back there and one in this pot here. But all in all, there is some new growth. You can see, and it's looking promising. Now, whether or not they will bloom early is yet to be seen, but so far they're alive. So it can be done, but the real test will be whether or not we get blooms forming by the end of May, which is when they would be pretty much blooming if I bought them brand new at the garden center or nursery. So that will tell me whether or not it is worth trying to overwinter these. Because if I'm going to only get blooms in August, then it might not be worth my time. But fun to experiment anyhow. That grouping of 4 planters there, I have under just a basic shop light to offer them at least some brightness, and they are on a timer, so those stay on about 16 hours a day. And these here, I have this like old grow light that has this purple coloring, and they're doing pretty well. And what's funny is that this one on the side here, I didn't have enough room under the grow lights, but it's already vining and kind of reaching for the light. So that's pretty interesting. But what I'm going to do now is what I have been doing for the last 2 weeks on Friday, Fertilizer Friday. I will come in here with my watering can and I will fertilize these with just like a regular basic flower fertilizer for annuals. So the blue stuff works just fine. I don't want to use the fish fertilizer inside because it's going to get really stinky. So what I'm doing is I just sprinkled some Osmocote, those little Osmocote beads. I sprinkled it into the top of the soil, scratched it in. And so that was my first step for fertilizing. And then the following week, what I did was I just used the Miracle Grow fertilizer, the blue stuff mixed into my watering can. And I'm going to do that once a week on Fridays until it is about May, and I can bring these outside when the temperatures warm up. Today is just gorgeous. It's such a gift to get days like this. So we're going to take a ride over to a local nursery, and they're a wholesale nursery. So I'm pretty sure that they're going to have Hellebore. They sell primarily to people in the landscape trade, but they do have regular retail hours. And today, being that it's a Thursday, today is one of those days. So I can go in there and I can buy things as well. So in terms of price, they're going to give wholesale pricing is going to be to those tradespeople, but regular retail people like us, we're going to pay a different price, but that's okay because I go there for the selection, and boy, do they have a selection. Great stuff. So I'm really excited. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what kind of Hellebore we can find. We've arrived at the nursery. This here is Sylvan, which is a wholesale nursery in Westport, Massachusetts. And this is where they have all of their Hellebore. So I took a quick walk through. They have the Wedding Party series, the Ice and Roses series, the Pink Frost. So they have quite a few here available. And I'm going to go ahead and take a look and pick a couple out. And I'll show you what I see. But look at all this beautiful, healthy foliage. And Hellebore are awesome because the foliage is ground cover and evergreen here in my zone 6. All of these here on this side are all in bloom. Look at this. Such a sight for this time of year. Look how pretty these are. Gorgeous. Check out this beauty. It almost looks like a mauve. Has a hint of brown to it. So pretty. It's called Hellebore Cinnamon Snow. Very interesting color. This variety is called Merlin, and it's a bit deeper than that last one, almost like a faded burgundy. And then they have this white here, which is the white, I think it's the, let's see here, Ice and Roses. Yeah, the Ice and Roses white variety. They come in white, like this ivory, and also in a pink. And here is the Pink Frost variety. These flowers are just gorgeous. I really love Hellebore. And here's one of those honeymoon series Hellebore. This one is called New York Night, and it's a really beautiful dark black one. Look at this. Isn't that gorgeous? Another honeymoon series one. This one is Sandy Shores. And this one's another. They're all pretty. I love them all. Look at that. It's like a creamy, almost a little bit of a buttery yellow with that dark center. And it looks like the back of the petal should be a peachy color. Let's see how tall these get. 18 to 24 inches in spacing. And they're hardy in zones 4 through 9. And that is the case with most hellebore. Hardiness zones 4 through 9. Here's what I ended up with. I picked up 2 of the Sandy Shores Honeymoon series. I thought these were really pretty. I'm actually going to go surprise a friend. It is her birthday today, and we're going to drive over and deliver one of these beauties. And here is the other 2 that I picked up. I grabbed one called Brandywine, which is a mix, so it is not in bloom, so I don't know what it's going to look like. And then I grabbed one of these Honeymoon series, which is a black one that we looked at that I thought was really cool as well. So let's go ahead and take a ride over to Maureen's house from Parsons Peonies and deliver her a little birthday hellebore. We're at Maureen's house and she's home, but we're not going to get her on camera because Maureen is having her day off working in her garden, which is beautiful. And she already went shopping for some birthday treats today. Look at these pretty little spring things that she picked up. This looks like a type of dianthus. Is that what that is, Maureen? Yes. Dianthus, so pretty. Little pink blooms. Maureen says hi. And there's another dianthus. Maureen makes amazing containers, so I can only imagine how pretty these are going to look together when she arranges them. This is a type of Campanella, majestic purple. These colors together scream spring. Good job, Maureen. Such a pretty buttery yellow pansy.
That's how big the blooms are.
Such big blooms. Yeah, they really are.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then what is this one? An English something, right?
Yeah,
Belisa Rose. So I thought, yeah, it does. Wicked cute.
I like the foliage on that one.
Yeah, it does have nice foliage. It almost looks like lettuce at the bottom, doesn't it?
It does,
with these pretty little pink blooms. These are so cute. So you're already going to stop making your arrangements?
Well, soon, yeah.
Soon.
We have a few 28-degree nights coming up.
We do. So you'll have to, if you do make stuff, you'll have to protect them.
Yeah.
But I think Maureen's having a wonderful day doing what she loves most out in her garden and getting some plants. And there is the hellebore that we picked up. And Maureen didn't have that one. You liked it?
Oh, yeah, and I love it.
Good. I'm so excited.
I love it.
This one is you're so welcome, the Sandy Shores one. And this one is already done blooming. You can see that it's already forming a seed pod, but that is what it's supposed to look like. So I'm happy that you liked it. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day out in your beautiful garden, Maureen. Well, today was a perfect weather day to work out in the garden. It's those few days that we call the false spring, where we get really nice weather before spring actually starts. So I was lucky to have had the day off and to get this chore done. In the last several years, I have been cleaning up the hellebore foliage somewhere around Valentine's Day, and it had worked really well, except that last year we got this polar vortex and some really cold temperatures, which zapped some of my blooms. Now, hellebore are generally very hardy, down to a zone 4, but when they have the leaves, it does offer them a bit more protection. So now I'm going to start waiting until closer to spring to clean up all of the foliage to when they actually start blooming. And I added a couple of new hellebores to my growing collection. So I'm going to work on getting these planted. These are great plants. They are beautiful. They bloom late winter, early spring, and the blooms last for a really long time. The foliage makes an excellent ground cover. They like a woodland setting with a pretty moist, well-draining soil, and they're deer resistant, which in this area of my garden is deer central. So that is perfect that they are resistant. So that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up button, and please consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my future videos. And we'll see you soon.